Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a horror comedy movie called Sick of Myself. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The movie begins with a couple, Signe and Thomas, celebrating her birthday at a fancy restaurant. To make the evening special, Thomas orders an extravagant bottle of wine worth $2,300. That's like a PS5 Pro in a bottle. When the waiter arrives with the wine, Thomas tells him to leave and says he'll pour it himself. After that, he asks Signe to pretend to receive a phone call and then leave the restaurant. It turns out the couple is planning to steal the wine and take it to the party they're heading to. Moments later, we see Thomas running down the street with the bottle of wine. The waiter is chasing after him, but he soon gives up and returns to the restaurant, disappointed. Afterward, the couple attends a party where we discover that Thomas is an artist on the verge of a career breakthrough. He proudly tells his friends how he stole such an expensive bottle of wine while Signe left him alone in the restaurant. His friends are impressed by his boldness and praise him.
That's so cool, Thomas.
I bet you have a huge dick, bro.
What?
What?
No, what?
But Signe becomes irritated by Thomas's bragging and the attention that he's receiving. The next day, we see Signe at work, and it turns out that she's a barista in a pastry shop. While working on her tasks, a wounded woman who has been bitten by a dog unexpectedly shows up. When the woman accidentally collapses into Signe's arms, she quickly wraps a handkerchief around her neck to stop the bleeding. Meanwhile, the other employees in the shop immediately call for an ambulance. Soon after, the police arrive and begin questioning Signe about the incident. She confidently lies, claiming that her first instinct was to help the woman, while everyone else just stood there watching. The officer then thanks her and suggests that she change her clothes. However, instead of doing that, Signe continues to wear the blood-stained clothes and walks on the road, hoping to draw attention to herself. When she returns home, Thomas is shocked to see her in such a condition. Signe pretends to be severely traumatized and tells the story of how she helped a wounded woman. She even exaggerates by claiming that the dog attacked her as well. Hearing this, Thomas becomes extremely concerned, which seems to satisfy Signe. By this point, it is clear that she's a narcissistic woman who will go to any lengths to get attention. In the following days, Signe continues to tell all her friends about her so-called heroic act. She even suggests that someone should interview her and cover the story. However, as time passes, people stop paying attention to the story, which worries her. In the meantime, Thomas's career as an artist continues to advance, making Signe increasingly jealous. One day, they both attend an important exhibition at a museum where Thomas presents his work. He becomes the center of attention, which obviously bothers Signe. The exhibition is followed by a dinner with several prominent figures from the art world. Later, when a waiter asks if anyone has a food allergy, Signe immediately claims she has a fatal nut allergy. A confused Thomas tells her that she doesn't.
Not allergic to these nuts.
But she shuts him up. Afterward, as Thomas begins to speak about the event, Signe deliberately eats nuts from his plate. She then pretends to have a severe allergic reaction, choking and disrupting his speech. This makes her the center of attention, making her very happy. On the way home, Thomas gives her a disappointed look, but doesn't say anything as he's used to her dramatic antics. The next day, Signe approaches a dog on the street and tries to provoke it. She pulls its leash and continuously pokes it to invoke a reaction. But despite her attempts, the animal stays calm and doesn't fight back. Soon after, the dog's owner arrives and is horrified by her behavior. He harshly accuses Signe of animal abuse and orders her to stay away from other people's pets. Later, at home, Signe is scrolling through her laptop when she stumbles upon news about a Russian anti-anxiety drug called Lexidol. The article reveals that the drug has caused severe side effects in many people, including damaging their skin and making them seriously ill. She then comes up with an idea and goes to see a friend named Signe, who is her illegal drug dealer. Signe tells him about Lexidol and says she wants him to get it for her. However, she doesn't mention the severe side effects and claims it's just for her anxiety. The guy then places an order on a sketchy website and assures her that it'll be delivered in a few days. Days later, Signe receives the pills and begins taking them regularly. At first, the medication causes her to become sluggish and sleepy, giving her a constant sense of fatigue. But after a few days, she notices some red marks on her skin. Thomas notices them as well and suggests she see a doctor immediately. The following day, Signe goes to the doctor but refuses to have anything checked. She then waits for her boyfriend to pick her up from the hospital, but when he doesn't show up, she becomes very upset. Upon returning home, Signe notices Thomas having a photo shoot for a magazine magazine cover. He apologizes for forgetting to pick her up and inquires about the doctor's visit. Signe lies that they subjected her to several tests. She expects Thomas to sympathize, but he is preoccupied with his photo shoot and doesn't pay much attention to her. Plus, he knows she's a liar and an asshole. Enraged, Signe storms into the kitchen and overdoses on the Lexidol pills. This causes a tremendous reaction on her face, which becomes swollen and unrecognizable. Signe is promptly hospitalized after the incident, and the doctors have to put a mask on her face because of how horrible it looks. Days later, when Thomas visits her, the first question he asks is whether the disease is contagious, to which she responds that it's not. He then starts crying, saying he should have paid more attention when she first started showing symptoms. Seeing him so worried for her makes Signe feel very happy. However, he soon gives her the magazine with his picture on the cover, which irritates her once more. Just then, Signe's friends arrive with flowers and express their concern, but when she notices that another friend named Anine is missing, she feels upset. A few days later, Signe's mom comes to see her and suggests that she should get out of the hospital. She informs her about a holistic group in which sick people gather for group therapy sessions. The next day, Signe is released from the hospital, but she is disappointed that only a few people visited or texted her. She tells Thomas that if she dies, she doesn't want Anine or her father to attend the funeral, as they didn't even come to see her once. Later that night, Signe tries to seduce Thomas, who's surprised that she wants to make love even in this condition.
Your face. I'm not feeling it, babe.
However, he eventually gives in, and Signe asks him to express how worried he was about her. Thomas reveals that he thought he lost her, and even imagined her funeral. Signe gets excited and asks about the funeral, and he reveals that many people were crying for her. He explains that he didn't allow people she hates to enter, such as her father and Anine. Upon hearing all this, Signe becomes aroused, which makes her look even weirder, and passionately makes love with her boyfriend. The next day, she attends the holistic support group recommended by her mother. During the group therapy session, Signe reveals that she has a rare condition that no one else has. She also lies about being a bakery manager and talks about her boyfriend, who never pays attention to her. However, upon hearing her rambling, another woman comments that she's just exaggerating and trying to play the victim. The woman claims that the true disease is mental illness, and that some people suffer from much more severe conditions, such as brain fog, depression, and anxiety. Her words leave Signe speechless, and she doesn't know what to say. Later, she meets her journalist friend Marta and sobs about her rare disease, which the doctors are unable to cure. She then informs Marta that if she were to interview anyone about this, it would be her. Hearing this, her friend understands what she's trying to say and reluctantly agrees to arrange an interview for her. The next day, Marta and her team arrive at the house for the interview. However, Thomas is annoyed that his girlfriend is interviewing at the same spot where he did his photo shoot. He says that people might recognize the backdrop, which could jeopardize his artistic value, but Signe doesn't care. The interview soon begins, but Thomas interrupts and takes one of the chairs away. He claims that he needs it for an upcoming photo shoot and doesn't want any news outlet to publish it. In the next scene, Signe imagines her interview going viral, instantly making her a celebrity. She envisions herself on a news program where her dad and Anine arrive to apologize for not visiting her. However, she soon snaps back to reality and checks the article featuring her story. This makes her very happy, and she asks Thomas to see if her article has been published. He does so, but finds nothing, which annoys her. Signe then notices that another news story about a mass shooting has gone viral, and her article has been pushed to the bottom of the page. This frustrates her greatly, but she still asks Thomas if he's proud of her. He responds that he is, which seems to satisfy her desire for validation. The next day, we see Thomas entering a furniture store trying to steal some chairs. A guard approaches him to talk, but Thomas escalates the situation into a fight. He then smashes several items in the store before eventually running away. Elsewhere, Signe arrives at a modeling agency where she meets the manager Lisa. Lisa explains that her agency focuses on inclusion and works with models who don't fit traditional beauty standards. As a result, they focus on representing physically ill and handicapped models. Lisa inquires about Signe's health, and the latter assures her that while she may appear sick on the outside, she is perfectly healthy. However, at this point, Signe begins coughing and excuses herself to the restroom, where she starts bleeding from her mouth. It turns out that despite everything, she's still taking Lexidol, which is deteriorating her health. health. Later, Signe imagines herself as an international model who has revolutionized the concept of beauty. She lives in a big mansion, and Thomas apologizes for how he treated her and begs for her attention. However, she soon snaps back to reality, and we see that she and Thomas are having lunch with their friends. Signe tries to talk about her modeling contract, but Thomas starts belittling her, saying it's not a big deal. Due to this, their friends get annoyed and point out that they're tired of the couple always arguing and competing with each other. But after they leave, Thomas holds Signe's hand and tells her not to listen to them. In the following days, Signe's health continues to deteriorate and her hair begins to fall out. Her face also becomes increasingly disfigured and horrifying. She then imagines herself meeting Marta and confessing the truth about how she deliberately took the Lexidol pills to make herself sick. In her imagination, Marta thanks her for being honest and suggests that she should write a book about her experience. Signe agrees and eventually becomes a best-selling author in the country, adored by millions for her bravery.
Look at that brave liar. She's such a bitch.
Days later, Signe arrives for her shoot, but she is too late due to her declining health. Moreover, her appearance is so horrific that the director is very reluctant to shoot her. The crew then informs her that they can't do her photo shoot because she arrived late and there's not enough time. Shortly after, Signe notices another model with one amputated hand doing her photo shoot. This makes her very jealous. So, when the model heads to the bathroom, she locks her inside and returns to the shoot. Since the other model is taking too long, the director decides to use this time to shoot Signe instead. She does a good job posing, but because of her illness, struggles to say her lines properly. Moments later, Signe collapses on stage and begins bleeding profusely from her face. The entire crew is too disgusted to even touch her, but they manage to call an ambulance and transport her away. Later, in the hospital, we see her in critical condition with Thomas by her side. The scene then cuts to a few days later, where Signe is at home, which is now completely empty. Marta then arrives to visit her and asks about the house. Signe reveals that Thomas was arrested for theft, and the cops took all of their possessions because they were stolen. At this moment, she finally confesses to Marta about her illness and how she deliberately made herself sick. She expects her friend to sympathize with her, but unlike her imagination, Marta is furious. She calls Signe shameless for manipulating everyone and tells her that she's mentally sick. Marta then storms off while a distraught Signe bursts into tears. In the final scene, we see her at the holistic group, where she is fabricating her symptoms again and claiming to have brain fog. She shares that she has lost all of her friends because they don't want to deal with a sick person like her. Signe also mentions that her boyfriend is in jail and no one is by her side. Hearing this, the group members console her, assuring her that she is not alone. This makes Signe happy that at least some people are still paying attention to her and validating her suffering. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.